Hey, thanks for tuning in tonight on the PCTV Network for another edition of Wheels in Motion's Car Stories. It's been a few months since we had a live show, but we're here tonight live with a guest tonight that's going to talk about his car and his restoration. If you didn't see the show before, check us out on the internet at the PCTV Network. One of the best shows that everybody comes up and tells me about. Gus and I went out on High Street at one of the Pottstown Classic Car Club's cruise nights, and we did a live show, and it's really a good one. We try to do a live show the first Wednesday of every month at 8:30, and then it's rerun throughout that month. 8:30. It used to be 8 o'clock. We had to change it to 8:30. So mark that down on your calendar and tune in. I do have some other people coming in over the next couple months, a car club, and a couple other people are going to be my guests on the show to share their stories. So definitely check it out. My name is Mike Yannessa. I have two automobile shops in Pottstown. I have one at 26 East 8th Street, which is a mechanical shop. And we do all types of mechanical services on your old car or your new car. And our second shop is at 346 Jefferson Avenue, called Wheels in Motion 2, where we offer full collision, restoration on antiques and classics, detailing, and much more. So I'm here tonight to share my stories and my friends' stories that have come on to show. Tonight we have Bill Clemens here, and he's going to talk to you about his 67 Z28. It's a great story. It's one of one. They only made 602 67 Z28s, and his is the only one known to exist with a bench seat. And remember, last month's show, I hope you watched, I talked about levels of restoration, the difference between a cruise night car and a car that you're preparing for Hershey or the Camaro Club. Bill's car is one of the nicest in the country. I mean, he's gone to the shows, got his awards, and done a really fine job restoring this rare classic 67 Z28. So I want to welcome Bill tonight, and he's going to share with you his story here on Car Stories, live on PCTV. Bill?
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks for coming.
You took a little bit of my information away from me. They only made 602 of these Z28s, 67 Z28s. There's about 200 left known to exist through a registry through Jerry McNeish. And if I could have my first picture, please, we'll go right to the story, the start of the story on how I found this car. I was looking through the auto locator in 1982.
Wow.
A long time ago. I had originally had a 69 Z28 that I sold in 73 when I got married. And in 1982, I started looking for a car to replace it with. I thought I'd like to have another one. And I found this car in the auto locator. It was located in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And I read the article, and I said, it looks like it might be the right car, but I'm not sure. I called up about the car, and the lady answered the phone, and the first thing she said to me was, I asked her about the Camaro, and she said, well, that's been sold. And I said, well, that's a shame. So I hung up the phone. I went in a little bit.
Right.
And for some reason, I don't know why, I called her back and asked her some more information on the car. And she says, oh, you're talking about the Camaro. That's still for sale. So I said, well, that's wonderful. That's the car I'm interested in. There was another car that happened to be, that was sold. So I said, can I come and look at it? And I went right out and looked at it that day. It was on a Sunday. I went out that afternoon and looked at it. And I went ahead and thought that this might be the right car from what I had known. So I went ahead and put a deposit on it and bought it. And it was probably the best investment I ever made.
Yeah, what, $3,500, Bill? Was that the price?
$36.95, and I didn't haggle on the price.
Right.
If you could find that car today, and the more I restored the car, the more I found out ultimately how lucky I was that all the pieces for that car mostly were there. Can we go to the second picture, please? We'll start the restoration. This is a picture when back in the day, I was a little lax about taking pictures, and you'll notice that this picture, the car looks pretty nice. It had nice paint on it, which was enamel, but it had problems. The stripes on the back were not correct or anything, and you can see I was short for storage for space because my son's little big wheel is underneath the car. But I had already pretty much taken the car, started to take the car apart. I never drove the car. brought it home, and it had some issues. It needed an exhaust system. The brakes were leaking, so it was a nice car, but it, it wasn't drivable. It wasn't ready to go on the road. So I made the decision to take it apart and start driving it, or start restoring it. Can I have the next picture, please? This is a picture after the whole body was stripped. This is a picture of it looks green. It's green primer. The whole body was stripped, chemically stripped, and put in primer. And at that point, we started to do the body work on the car. This was all done, by the way, in my 2-car garage behind my house. Can we have the next picture, please? This is a little farther along. You notice there's some red paint on the car, base paint, base color on the car. The front fenders are still in primer. The firewall is painted black. And you'll notice up in the upper left-hand corner, it looks like there's a hole in the firewall of the car. That was very important because this car had a very special air cleaner on it, and that's the hole that was cut in by the dealer. Next picture, please. This is a little farther along, again on the restoration. You can see that the fenders now are painted, and some of the firewall stuff is installed. The engine is installed and bagged. And we were getting ready to tape up the car in preparation to put the final coats of paint on it.
I just wanted to say something, Bill, before you get further about pictures. This is important. I talked about this before. Back in the day, in 1982, 1983, even myself, we didn't take many pictures. But when you're doing a restoration, it's very important to take a lot of pictures. Here we are 30 years later, and luckily Bill took a few pictures, but you never have enough. A lot of our cars, the pictures are on the website, so you can see exactly the process. So remember, if you're doing a restoration out there on your own, get a disposable camera or keep a camera in the garage, and remember every night to take pictures of your progress. So that's very important. Bill?
I do have another car that I'm doing right now, and I am taking a lot more pictures. A lot more pictures.
Yep. There you go. That's red
next
there.
Picture, okay, that's the car is all taped up, final coat of paint. Coat of red paint. This car was painted in acrylic lacquer, which I don't believe they're allowed to do that anymore, are they?
No, lacquer's just about, some of it's available, but red and so forth, that's not available anymore.
Right. That was the original type of paint that they used on the car, and I felt to do a proper restoration that it should have the correct paint on it. Right. You can't do them anymore, but I don't know if I'd do another one like that anyway. But anyway, this is a picture of the
original red lacquer.
The original red lacquer,
nice.
The finished paint on it.
Very good.
Here's a picture of
Ron Vasco.
Ron Vasco, friend of Mike and I's.
Yep.
He's the one that did the paint work on the car and the body work, and he got it exceptionally straight, I must say.
Yep.
But here's a picture. We're doing the first buff out of the paint before we start doing the stripes and everything. But it's a multi-step. I guess you could talk a little bit about that. It's a multi-step process to get the paint shiny, and it was done again after the car was totally assembled. But
the lacquer paint, the more you rub it, the shinier it gets. You just can't rub through. You got to watch. But Ronnie has been painting lacquer for a lot of years, and he knows how to do it, and that's what he's doing. He's bringing that luster up, that deep shine that we all want.
Next picture, please. I thought this was an interesting picture. I mean, missed a little bit on that. This is the way the car was taped up before the stripes were put on. This car came originally from the factory. It had broad white stripes on the hood and the deck lid. And this is a picture of the deck lid showing how the stripes, everything was taped off. Everything you see and happen to see in that picture that is red will be white when it's all taken apart. That is actually the white stripes. And
it's a very important process on a Z28 to get those stripes white. I'm sorry, to get the stripes right. Because the measurements and stuff are available, and they get down to 30 seconds of an inch. A lot of guys will put the stripes on and they're a little bit off, and you will lose points when you go to the high level judging. So they're laid out, checked, measured, double checked, and then like Bill said, the area you saw red then gets painted white. And you want to feel the stripe on top of the paint. They didn't bury them under clear like we do nowadays. They were put on right on top of the red lacquer. So that was a good shot.
That's correct. That was a big no-no when you go to the shows. If they can't feel those stripes,
they make a big deal about it.
They don't like it. They don't like it when you go to the concours shows. Here's a picture of the car. You can see the car looks shiny.
Yep, shining up.
The hood's installed. The stripes are on. Correct. And this is, it was up on 4 jack stands. I had the tires put on it. This was the start of the process to actually begin assembling the car. You'll notice that the windshield is in, the chromers are trimmed around the windshield. There's no side window installed yet. The interior is not in. I know it's up on jack stands. There's no exhaust system on it. So now this is the process where you start to actually assemble the car and make sure you don't make any mistakes. Next picture, please. And the finished product.
Wow.
That was taken by a, we'll talk about it a little later, but that was a professional picture taken for a photo shoot that I had done. The car came out much better than I expected. When I originally started the project, I bought the car just to have a nice Camaro. But as it progressed, it became nicer and nicer, and I decided, well, it's a rare car, so it deserved to have a total restoration on it, and it turned out better than my expectations. And
one thing I should point out, folks, is that Bill did this in his garage at home over many years with the help of some of his friends, and you know, this level of restoration to do at my shop or any shop would be very expensive. But he did a lot of the labor and a lot of the legwork at home, and the stuff he needed help with, he got help with. He did a heck of a job, especially, like I said, out of his garage. And over the years, we've been friends for many years. We talked about the car and gathered parts at Carlisle for it. And, you know, it was really fun, you know, getting this thing back to the high level restoration that it is now.
That's an interesting point, too, because a lot of people you talk to at the shows, when they see a car, and my car, it turned out very well. I said better than I expected. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people think that it costs a lot of money to do that, you know. But if you do a lot of work yourself, mm-hmm. It's still possible to turn out an award-winning car.
Yes.
But on your own, for the most part. And everybody has to farm out certain things. I didn't do everything myself. I had help with the body and paint work and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the mechanical work I did myself, and some of the paint underneath I did myself and everything. But it can be done.
Yes.
It can be done.
That proves it. Mm-hmm.
Next picture, please.
Wow.
Okay, we'll talk about this is the heart and soul of the Z28. This picture shows, if you notice, the thing that stands out the most on this is the air cleaner on the top of the engine. This was a very special option. It was called an cow plenum air cleaner. You'll notice that the air cleaner is totally enclosed, and it has a large duct that runs back to the firewall. And I talked before about, in that one picture, about the hole in the firewall. This was an option on the Z28s, and it was something you could order. When you ordered the car, Z28, this is part of the package that you could order with it. You could order it with this air cleaner. It came in the trunk. It was not installed on the car. You could the person that bought the car could either install it themselves, or they could have it installed at the dealer. Because that hole in the firewall was not there. That had to be cut before this air cleaner was installed. Some of the other things, if you look in the upper right-hand corner, there's some stamping on the firewall. It says PTB. That's a stamping from the factory, that different paint code, different, what's the word for that?
Inspection marks.
Inspection marks.
Means it passed paint, trim, and body inspection. Right. And once it did, they stamped it. And it was randomly done. You can see the T's crooked, the B's crooked. It was just stamped, meaning that they checked the car at the factory to make sure it met quality control.
The engine itself is a 302 cubic inch, which was specifically designed for the Z28 package. It came in no other Camaros, no other cars. It was only designed for the Z28, and that was because these cars were designed to race in the SCCA, Sports Car Club of America, sedan racing. They raced against Mustangs. That was what this package was designed for, to go racing against the Mustangs. But there was a 305 cubic inch limit on the size of the engine. The smallest engine that Chevy had a 283 in these cars, and they also had a 327. So they mixed parts, and they came up with a 302 cubic inch engine, and that's the engine that they put in these cars. All the rest of the parts are basically production parts. The cylinder heads were off a high-performance Corvette. The intake manifolds is a high-performance Corvette. The carburetors it's all high-performance stuff that was available, used on Chevrolets, different Chevrolets, but it's all high-performance stuff that was put together to build this package for the Z28.
Right.
The next picture, this is a picture of the interior that didn't turn out too bad. for a black interior. Everything in there is black, so it would be a little tough to see. The most important thing on this car is the fact that it has a bench seat. If you look in the lower right-hand corner, you can just see this edge of the seat and there's a fold-down armrest. This was an option on Camaros. You couldn't get a console or anything, but the bottom of the seat was as a bench across, and then the backs were 2 bucket seat backs with this fold-down armrest. My car, through research that has been done, is the only existing Z28, 67 Z28 that has this bench seat option, and so it makes it, like Mike talked about, a one-of-one car.
One of one, yeah.
One of one that exists. We do know through research that there was another car made in the Los Angeles plant, because there's a window sticker that was found that showed this another car that was made. But that car has never been found. They don't know where it's at. So my car is the only existing car that has the bench seat. It also has, if you look right about in the center of the picture, down low, it's a factory 8-track player. It's mounted underneath the dash. It's kind of an afterthought, I think. I've seen pictures of one other car that has this type of installation on it, mounted underneath the dash like that.
And I remember with Bill at one of the flea markets that he bought, General Motors had a Camaro 8-track tape that they could play in the tape player to promote their new car, and he bought one of those tapes and has it for the tape deck, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's all important stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
And next picture, please. This picture was after the car was completed. Documentation on these cars is of the utmost. The more documentation, the more paperwork you have, and I think Mike has talked about that at different times. The more paperwork you have on the car to document it as original, the better off you are. This is a picture of probably one of the foremost authorities in the country. His name is Jerry McNeish, and I took the car to him. He lives in Maryland. I took the car down to his shop, and he documented the car. He had it up on the lift, and he checked everything out on the car. He told me several things that were wrong with it, what I had to correct. He knows these cars inside and out. And Mike, I guess if you look at that picture, you see the Wallies on the.
Yeah, look at them all.
He is a NHRA drag racer. He actually has right now he's racing a original 67 Z28 in stock class in NHRA drag racing.
Nice.
So he pretty much knows everything there is about these cars. So he was the man to go to, and he documents the cars, and if we can see the next picture, please, I'll show you. There's a certificate of documentation you get. That's shows that Jerry certified this car, which it holds a lot of weight in the Camaro community. If Jerry certified the car, then that means the car is correct. There's a couple other pages behind that where they show things that were correct about the car, some of the things that should be fixed. He comes up with a value on the car. When this was done, I think the value was a lot higher than they are now. The value has come down on these cars some, but they give you all that information, and it said that's a valuable piece of documentation for the people that are looking for the intrinsic value of the car, that you have to have that kind of documentation.
Right, to prove it out.
Yeah. The other point is, I don't have a lot of original documentation on the car. A lot of people have, and it's amazing to me that some cars, they have the complete paper trail, and I think Mike has also talked about that. Yep. They have a complete paper trail on the cars. They have the original bill of sale. Right. I don't know why anybody would keep that stuff, but they did. Right. And they have the original warranty book and the protector plate, and they have every piece of paperwork documenting a car. Unfortunately, when I bought this car, I didn't have any of that. I had to do all the research, and through the years working with Jerry and working with other people, I've come up with a lot of documentation on the car. One of the most valuable things that I have is in 1982, when I bought this car, I had gone to a show and I talked to somebody else that had a Camaro, and they told me that the information at Chevrolet was still available. I wrote a letter to Chevrolet. I wrote it to 2 different places, the Norwood Assembly Plant where the car was built, and to the zone office. And I got both the letters back, and one of them told me there was information, and the other one told me there wasn't.
Wow.
But I did get a letter back from the one, and it gave me every piece of information on the car, where the car was delivered to, when it was shipped, all the options on the car, which matched up to what the car had. So I knew that the car was correct. Go to the next picture, please. See what we got next.
Uh-oh.
Oh my God. This was in 2007, my coming out party, the first show that I went to with the car. I don't think it was and that's Mike's car, obviously, that's next to me.
Yeah.
That wasn't your first show, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, if you remember, we were both, both of our cars were apart for a number of years, and we talked over the phone back and forth about what color to paint this bracket or what to do with this, and we both made a promise in, I don't know, I'm going to say the beginning of '07, that we're going to be at Hershey this year with our cars, and they're going to be done, because Bill's was apart for 20 years, 18 years, mine was apart for 13 years, and we did, and here we are at Hershey, and we both went up there, and we both got our juniors, and the cars did very well. And at Hershey now, we talked about this, they're judging on fit, finish, condition, and originality, but they're by no means a Camaro expert. So they're judging on strictly appearance, scratches, nicks, pitting of the chrome, that type of thing. So that's why you need to go to the Camaro expert, the GTO expert, the Dodge expert, to get that other documentation, as well as your junior and senior up at Hershey.
That's right. So I went into that show, and that was my first show, that type of show that I went to with the car, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't know where I'm at with this car.
Yeah, we were nervous.
I don't know how this car is going to do. Am I going to? The first time you show it, you're going up for a junior award, which is what you get. And at the AACA, they judge it on it's 400 points. Mm-hmm. You're judged two ways. You're judged point-wise. For everything that they find wrong, they deduct points. So you lose points for everything, and you're not just judged for points. You're also judged against the other cars that are in your class. So you may not lose a lot of points, but if there's another car in your class that is perfect, right, you may not get your first junior, even though your car is probably worthy of it. If you happen to run up against a lot of good cars, mm-hmm, you may not get your junior the first time out. So, and they say, oh, you're going to Hershey for your first show. I was nervous, but yeah, we did well. I got my first junior.
Yeah. Yep.
Next picture, please. One missing. This is a picture. I went to a show in Detroit, and let me back up a little bit to Hershey. I went to Hershey the first year. I went back to Hershey the next year, and I talked to a gentleman named Al Maynard, who asked me if I would like to bring my car to a concourse type show in Detroit, Michigan. The first year I said, no, I don't think I want to do that. The next year I said, yeah, I think I will do that. So I took my car out to Detroit, Michigan, and I ran into the gentleman you see here on the ladder, who was a photographer, and he was going around at that show taking pictures. And he asked me, he said, was your car ever featured in a magazine? And at that time I said, no, it hasn't, never been featured in a magazine. He said, well, I think I can help you out here. So we took some pictures of the car in Detroit, took it to some magazines, and they said, yes, we'd like to see an article on this car. And here he is. He called me several months later, and we set up a photo shoot, and here he is.
And you have the magazine here with you?
Yes, I do.
If you want to see it, hold that up, Bill. We can get Gus to.
We show this magazine. This is the first.
The first publication of his car was in this Muscle Car magazine. I remember when that came out. Really good article, really good pictures, and all the pictures, a lot of the pictures, am I right, were taken locally?
Yes, everything was taken locally.
Yep, taken right here in the area at various places.
So he came to take this photo shoot before we did this article, and I learned a lot. I mean, that was what was interesting about watching him. That's why I took some pictures of him taking pictures, because it was so interesting to watch how they do the photography. Those pictures the picture that was on before, those pictures were taken in the evening. He never takes pictures during the day. And to me, I think, well, you got a bright sun to take a picture. No, you don't need bright sun to take a picture. You take pictures in the evening. That's when he took them. And I think if we show the next picture, please. Oh, that's the picture at Meadowbrook. That's the one I wanted to see. That was our picture out in Detroit.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
This is a picture out of Detroit. This is my wife, Pat, and myself, and this is where I met Al, who was taking the pictures. And this is a concourse type show. This is totally different. You notice there's a rope in there. It's all roped up. It's very high-end show. I felt like I was over what I should have been to have at that show. But it's just an honor to be even asked to go to a show like it, to be invited to go to a show like that. It's all invitation. But I did turn around, and I did win an award at that show too.
You have that here tonight, Bill?
Yes, I do.
Let's see that. We got some awards here on the table.
Can you put that one up?
Yeah, we can put this one up right here, the Lion. Very, very good award to have.
That was a Lion Award. It's actually
beautiful.
It's actually second place. Yeah.
Nice. There it is. And that's from where?
The Concord, Meadowbrook, the Concourse d'Elegance show in Meadowbrook in
Detroit.
Detroit.
And then what's this other one here, Bill?
The other one?
Yeah.
That is an AACA award. That's a Grand National Award. Your AACA club, you go junior like I got at Hershey.
Oh,
you can go to another meet.
You
can go to another meet and get a senior award. And then if you go farther, they have Grand National meets, which are only once a year at various different places in the country. I traveled to New Bern, North Carolina with the car to get that award.
And then we got another one here from the good guys, 2009 finalist. There you go.
There we go. That was up at Pocono. That was a.
And then I have this. Bill has this one, and this is the one I always talk about up at Carlisle, the Camaro show. It used to be there, now it moved down to Maryland, and he got his gold. Up there, he was in a class that had 5,000 points, and he scored 5,000 points. That's really an honor. It's probably the highest scoring Z28 in the country. Bill's been in many magazines. He's got Old Car Magazine here. Bill, hold that up for the camera. Since the beginning, you know, this is probably the latest one, Old Cars.
This was just earlier this year that was in this magazine.
And that all adds to your car's value. I mean, it adds to the credibility. Like I had said before, I could tell you the car's this, I could tell you the car's that, but when you have documentation, you have awards, it's been in magazines, you don't have to take my word or the owner's word. Jerry McNeish and all the other people judged it, and they're telling you the car is right. They're telling you that it's an exceptional car, and whether it be a Camaro or any make or model, it adds value to the car, and it tells you also not just about money. It's about that the car was restored well, and Bill should be proud of that. So we're running out of time for tonight, folks, but Bill's going to hold up a picture of his next project, another Camaro, a very rare 1969 four-wheel disc brake 69 Z28. They only made 206, and this one is burnished brown, which is an odd color but very pretty with white stripes. That's what they all look like. And hopefully a year or two from now, when Bill gets it done, he'll come back on the show and show us and tell us the story about that car. So I want to thank you, Bill, for coming tonight. Bill's our first live guest here at PCTV for Car Stories. And like I said, we've known each other for years. We've shared Camaro stories. We were at every spring Carlisle in the flea market. We've been doing that for 30-some years. So if you're ever at Spring Carlisle, look us up. We're side of the R building, which is one of the only few buildings at Carlisle. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Watch us on the internet. Check out my website at www.wheels-inmotion-biz. It's right here, so you can see it up there. And on there's a bunch of pictures of our cars, our restorations, and things that are going on at my shop, Wheels in Motion here in Pottstown. So again, thank you, Bill, for coming on Car Stories, sharing your story. I hope that all your friends and family out there watch you, whether it be on the internet. Watch your Mercury listings. PCTV shows it every Wednesday at 8:30 and a few other times throughout the month. So check the Mercury listings for Car Stories. And thank you, the viewer, for tuning in to Car Stories live on PCTV.